Claude artifacts. You could use it to show the ROI of a new initiative, or you can use it to create visual representations. So right now it says your campaign is not profitable. And let's see if we change it to $1 cost per click. Then it will change down here. I will say it's profitable, but it has room for improvement. We can see we have a 50% ROI. We'll get $7,500 in revenue and 5,000 clicks. From here, you can go crazy in many ways. You can add even more charts. You can add even more variables. You can add colors to the whole dashboard. What this model context protocol does, it's like a way for the large language models like Claude to use other apps. As this gets more developed, it will be what everybody's using for more complex tasks and will save us a lot of time. Please update all the tasks to complete. Here it's changing all of them to complete it like one by one. Some people know that you can use AI to coach yourself, but where many go wrong is that they underestimate how much better you can make the coach if you add some unique data to it.
When are you choosing to use ChatGPT and when are you choosing Claude?
So
Hi, I'm here with Nils, who is going to show us how he's using Claude in his work. He has really cool stuff to show, especially if you are in finance or if you want to use AI to write, you should watch this video. So Nils, hi, can you maybe talk a bit about you and present yourself?
thank you so much for having me. I am a writer and I help high-ticket information products build out their middle of funnel, which is a fancy word of saying that I help them write emails and SMS campaigns and like the strategy that they need to convert people from social media over to buying their products. And overall, I got into this like 3 years ago. And when I started to write, it was like 1 year where you couldn't use AI at all, beginning of 2022. And so it's been a cool thing for me to write 1 year without AI. But then when AI launched as well with ChatGPT, it became more trendy than getting into that. And I remember at the beginning, it was really feeling like you were kind of like pushing the envelope and nobody was using it for the writing. And it was just like super fresh and nobody really understood how to use it. And now I think it's kind of widely adopted. So I'd love to share some of the use cases today.
Let's go directly because you explained me that you have a lot of cool things to show to everybody. One thing you explain is that you're using Claude artifacts, and I don't think a lot of people know that. So I allowed you to share your screen. So let's go directly into it.
Claude artifacts, for those who are not familiar, are a kind of like a product within the product of Claude, and you can use it to create mermaid charts. You can use it to create calculators and all kinds of like mini interactive apps. And I really didn't really appreciate this feature until I was in Nashville a few weeks back, and I met who is the general manager at. He is using AI in awesome ways. You should definitely have him on like every single day. Like he's the kind of guy that you meet him and he's like, have you tried this tool? And it's always like an awesome new tool. And he was showing me how they were using Claude artifacts. I think it was either for calculating their own agency prices or it was for sending proposals to other firms. And they were showing how they could use it to calculate the ROI. After looking at that myself, I started to actually build together some mini models where whenever I was sending a proposal, I would be like, hey, this is like the ROI projection if we use this writing service that we put together for you versus if you don't use it. An actionable way that you can use this in your day-to-day, whether you're working in like finance or some other area at a corporation, is you could use it to show the ROI of a new initiative, or you can use it to just create visual representations of really anything you want to do. So let's maybe try it out with an example here. And we can say, I want you to create an artifact to, let's say, an interactive artifact to calculate the ROI of a marketing campaign. And then what I would always tell is like the parameters I want to be able to adjust are CPC, cost per click, could be ad spend, return on investment. Please include a graph as well projecting ROI. And then what it will do is it will go ahead and it will code together this artifact for us.
What type of code is it?
I don't know what kind of code it is, but this will in like a second, it will turn into an actual like mini app within the interface. I don't know how to code, which I actually think is an advantage sometimes because whenever I try to explain something to people, I'm like, I also don't know how to code, right? I think most people can't code, but I believe that this would be Python.
What I see is React because it uses React language to make something visual. Now we got it.
Now we got it. So here we get like this. They even added an insights and recommendation part right here.
Oh,
So let's have a look at it. And it added some more parameters. So let's say the cost per click. So right now it says your campaign is not profitable. And let's see if we change it to $1 cost per click. Then it will change down here and we'll say it's profitable, but it has room for improvement. We can see we have a 50% ROI. We'll get $7,500 in revenue and 5,000 clicks. And what if we get the cost per click down to 0.5 even? Then suddenly it's performing really, really well and the ROI is increasing over time and it's just climbing up. And it also analyzes me from a break-even standpoint. From here, you can go crazy in many ways and you can be like, I would want to add like this as well. You can add even more charts. You can add even more variables. You can add colors to the whole dashboard. What would be a use case, Nicolas, that our audience would find interesting here, just so we can create something that's maybe even more relatable for people?
here you can compare scenarios maybe to say, okay, like show me the difference between different monthly ad spend.
Okay, let's do it. Can you make the dashboard to have two inputs so I can compare two campaigns next to each other, as well as updating the ROI dashboard? And then I can even be like, I also the ROI chart. I also would like to add 2 or 3 more graphs with other insights to compare
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
to. If you don't really know what the direction is to be, you can kind of give it in here. Then now again, it's going back to the code and it's like editing it and you can see the edit that it's making. And it's happened to me that I request a change, then it doesn't happen. In which case you're just like screenshotting and you're like, hey, you just made the changes to the code, but actually it's not working. Can you please revise it? And then it goes back and it fixes it for you. That's just a piece of advice I will always have for AI, where if it's not giving you good output or if it's not working at all, you just give it the amount, like the method to self reflect and correct itself. We will also go into some other cool stuff later on, like using MCP, Model Contact Protocol, which is a bit more technical. And as somebody who can't code, it took me a lot of screenshots to figure it out. But when you have it, it's very cool because you can integrate Claude with other apps. Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Artifact, is it available for everybody or do you need to pay for it?
I don't know if Claude is a free version. Like sounded like stop here, but I was just
You
pay
are,
for the
you
actual
are
bits,
paid,
like
you have a pro version, right?
I have the pro version. I have both the personal and the team pro version, but this is available on personal pro as well. But the cool thing is, in the second that this is done, you can actually share it and you can publish it on the internet. So for example, if I was reporting to a manager and say I was in marketing and I had to be like, hey, this is the projected like revenue for our new marketing campaign, I would ask Claude to be like, hey, can you add like these exact parameters from our previous marketing campaign? Here's like our new hypothesis or whatever actual metrics you have so you can make it more reality based. And then you can put it in here and you maintain the interactive element. But then lastly, you can press share up here in the right corner, because then you can publish it on the internet and you can send that in, for example, an email so that anybody can view it and anybody can play around with it. Let's see. I think it's writing quite a lot of code here. I can't scroll down right now, but it's being productive. So we'll see what pops out. But so what I talked about became true. So it said, this didn't work. Now we see, can you fix it? They even added a button for can you fix it, which is awesome, I think.
You can tell me, while the code runs, the type of artifacts you have produced for yourself.
Yeah, so I've used these calculators whenever I've been setting proposals. Another artifact that I like to create is like there's many different kinds. If you work in branding, for example, I've been like in the digital space for a while. So I was like, I don't need a website for my company. But then I was like, okay, I should probably build a website at some point. And then I was thinking about how do I compare different types of branding. So I chose like 2 colors and I screenshotted them and I put them into Claude. And I said, hey, like I'm building out the branding for my company. These are 2 colors that I like. Can you please create an artifact where you map out 5 different color palettes with complementary colors, as well as suggest 2 different fonts, a primary font and a secondary font, one serif, which is like a sexy type of font, and like one sans serif, and use your artifact to visualize them so that I can compare them next to each other. And then that way I was able to make a decision on the branding way faster than if I had to, because before then I was Googling, I was like, Google fonts, look at this font, and just comparing everything, and it just saved me so much time.
So you created like 2 branding guidelines next to each other to compare which one you like the most.
Yeah, I actually did 5, but how it worked. So let's go into this, and I have some more stuff we can look at then. So this is cool, and I reckon let's actually press share here. I think it's because I'm on a team plan. I think it's anyone in my organization. I think that's a setting I have to change. But if I can go to like the website version of this, for example, my team, they could go into this. Or if you're working in a corporation, you have strict privacy laws or whatever, then the people in your organization can access it if they're on the same account. And then you can look at it, and let's say that one of them is a 0.75, and then maybe this one is really, really good, and or we say it's 0.60, and then we can compare the two. And of course, this is like a very simple, like linear function. And if you're working in something that's more complex, you could very easily just put in like the function that you have. It could be a second or even third degree function, and you can make more complex projections. And you can be looking at the conversions. Oh, I think it added the conversion rate as well. Conversion rate, average order value. We can pull this one down here to make it a bit more realistic, right? So the one has cheaper ads, but the average order value is lower. Then suddenly the revenue from the first one is higher, even though it's more expensive. Cost per acquisition comparison, return on marketing investments. Like, this is awesome. Then it even has some insights here at the bottom.
Yeah, so for finance, I think when you think about budgeting, scenario modeling, also just going in a meeting with somebody who is not really happy using spreadsheet, or like spreadsheet can be really dry. I think this is a really good way to be a good business partners in finance, and to help also convince if you want people to invest in your project, or if you want that the decisions happen in a meeting. A lot of time, I know that I remember somebody has a good idea and say, oh, what about if we increase here the marketing spend? What is the result? And then everybody has to go back, and then 1 week after we come back with the results, and then we decide. And here you could basically just answer on the spot, which is a really great tool to make decisions, and also to help finance basically be a really good business partner for a business, because they will help them make better decisions and faster decisions.
Absolutely.
So you also told me that you are using Claude for yourself to coach yourself. Can you explain me that?
Yeah, I can show you. So where many go wrong is that they underestimate how much better you can make the coach if you add some unique data to it, or even add data history. The current product that I have that is not finalized yet is that I have inflammation in my body, like a lot. So I've been trying to figure out, where does this come from? How can I fix it? And it's been really difficult for me to figure out, because I've been in a lot of pain. I try to eat better. I try to like exercise better. I try to sleep better. And I've had ChatGPT coach me on it, but I've also started to build a GPT where the V1 is just that I log myself every day, and I'm like, okay, what did I eat? Did I exercise? What was my sleep? And then eventually what I want to build it into is that I have logs of like everything I did during the day. I can integrate it with like the Whoop API, and you can build like a coach that is based not only on the normal AI, but is actually based on your own unique history and also your health data, and everything is connected. And it's so much easier to do that now than ever before. And just building a personalized coach just wasn't possible even, I think, a year ago. Just with all the new features, it's been way easier. So this is another product that I have that is more done, which is super simple. I put in as many videos as I could. You see here, it's like 926 lines of Hormozy videos.
How did you put the video inside?
There's a tool called Glasp. If I go to like YouTube and we go over to say Alex Hormozy, you get like the whole transcript like here, and then just press copy transcript, and you have the entire one in like a second, and then you just put it all into Google Doc. It takes you like 5 minutes. This is actually a really useful tool. I like it. I haven't been using the other features. I just think that the YouTube native transcript features takes like so long to like copy everything. So I like it just for like the one-click copy, which is also something we use a lot in our writing. And then I just put it all into one Google Doc, which is like here. And you can see it's very long.
So how many videos do you have inside?
I think it's something like 15 to 20. Like I just remember it was like a lot. And then I gave it a very simple instruction, which is always reply acting as Alex Hormozy to all of the videos I've given you in the product knowledge. If Alex Hormozy answers a question, he answers it by answering the question behind the question. So for example, if I overly fixate on tactics, I want you to give me tough love and pull me back into the big picture. This is a small instruction, but what you will notice is, I think many times we need people to kind of kick us in the ass. AI usually is very much confirmation bias machine, right? If you ask ChatGPT, it's like, you're so smart, like you're a genius, it's like it's always telling you that you're awesome. I think that this one does the complete opposite. Like the best example here would be something where I'm overly fixating on a tactic, but I should actually be looking at the bigger picture. So for example, let me say I'm pondering if I should spend my workday in the Pomodoro method, or if I should biohack my morning routine. to maximize my productivity. If we can probably even put this into ChatGPT and see what it tells me. It's probably going to be like, those are awesome ways.
Yeah, this is from working.
Yeah, it's like they can seriously boost productivity. And now the Hormozy one is probably going to tell me like, look, that's cool, but you're actually being stupid right now. Yeah, it's roasting me. Look, you're asking about Pomodoros and morning routines, but what you're really asking is, how do I avoid doing the hard work? Here's the brutal truth. You're optimizing the wrong thing. I work with thousands of entrepreneurs, and the ones who make millions aren't the ones with the perfect morning routine or the ideal productivity hacks. They're the ones to do the activities that directly generate revenue, even when those activities sucks. You want to know what my morning routine is? I wake up and I work. It can become productive procrastination if you use it all the time, but I just find it that whenever I have a question in my mind and I'm like overcomplicating something, usually I would need to have a conversation with a friend that's like, Nils, you're overcomplicating this. Now I'm just like, oh, I have this thought. And then it's kind of like pulls me back into reality. It's like, oh, actually most of it doesn't matter. And it's just been very useful for breaking my like limiting beliefs, which as a founder is something that we need to do all the time to kind of like do something new. The sad thing is that I can't publish this. Otherwise I would give you a link. I think that Claude should be adding that feature to publish projects. It's not like a GPT where everybody on the internet can use it, but it's been very helpful for me in that way.
I think here is very important for people to understand that if you don't explicitly ask AI to be really critical and to to challenge you, you will really a lot of time get confirmation biased, which is not really good. You really need to prompt that and to give that in the instruction if you want a real coach. You talked before about ChatGPT and now you showed us Claude. Actually, when are you choosing to use ChatGPT and when are you choosing Claude?
So with all writing related activities, I default to Claude, and I usually use Claude for whenever I'm on desktop and I'm doing actually productive work and I'm writing, I use Claude. I just find that Claude is better at producing like human-like writing, and that could be a bias because everybody's using ChatGPT. So I think that just by using Claude as a less commonly used AI, you're already, even if you use like the default Claude tone, it's still different from the ChatGPT one. It has its like AI writing ways that it likes to reuse, just like ChatGPT, but I just find it's like less prevalent overall. So I use that for writing. I love to use the ChatGPT mobile app, and I love to use the voice feature on ChatGPT during the mornings. For example, I'm in this like small university city right now, and then when I walk to the coffee shop where I work from, I like to have a conversation with ChatGPT voice while I walk about like what I should be doing today or something. You can call it very lonely. I like to call my friends in the afternoon, but in the morning it's just like a fun thing, especially because it has like the memory feature, so it knows you a little bit better. So I could even be like, hey, I have no idea what I want to talk to you about. Like based on the information that you have on me, what do you think we should chat about today? And it was like business, inflammatory diet, and soccer. So that's a helpful way.
To continue, because I think there is a lot of content about how ChatGPT can help.
Yeah.
But you actually told me, and we are going to see that just after, that you have a really good project that you did with Claude. But before we jump on this, do you have like a tip for people that want AI to write like them or write in a different way? Because you are using it to write. So how can you make it sound more like you? How finance people can help their commentaries with this?
So I have a few things that could be relevant here. The first thing is that if you want to train AI, and this will sound stupidly obvious, but I still need to say it, which is that if you want AI to write like yourself, you need to have some examples of yourself writing like yourself. I think many times people want AI to write in like a unique way, but then they don't actually have like the context to back it up or to actually teach it to people. And this, again, it sounds obvious, but I've just found that many people, when I'm like, hey, so can you show me an example of when you've written this document? And they're like, well, I don't really have one. So that's problem number one if you want to write it in a distinctive tone. You can also use another type of written document that you really like in terms of the tone of voice, but just create it yourself before you let AI create it, because otherwise you're going to be unhappy regardless, because you don't even know your own tone of voice. The second thing that I would say in terms of communication is that we work with this insurance brokerage agency or insurance brokerage, and all the content in their niche, which was like financial institutions insurance, was like postgraduate college level writing. I never asked ChatGPT to write something like a professional tone of voice, even though we write for CEOs and founders and everything, just because I believe that what it's trained on in that context, like corporate speak, like nobody really likes corporate speak. Like even the people in corporate don't like corporate speak. What we found is that when we came in and we did the newsletter in readability grade 6, when everything else was readability grade 14, everybody in the industry was like, CFOs were walking up to them and were like, we love how like concise and simple you've made all the jargon on our space, because they're tired of reading these like postgraduate reading parts. So the piece of advice I would have there is like, sometimes when I'm on LinkedIn, I see people being like, oh yeah, like act like a professional writer and like a professional like, I think that that's all good and fine, but I like to more look at it from like a simple prompt you could use is when you write this, I want you to distill the essence of it into a readability grade 6 level, but without simplifying the overall concept or losing the nuance in it. So you kind of tell it to simplify while maintaining the nuance in it. That's something that usually is like a small prompt that can give you good results in that part.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
I think people need to try that. So
People.
now we have been waiting for the biggest piece for the end, like something you just did recently. And I was really impressed when you told me that you could connect Claude to other tools that you have and basically like make it even more productive for you because it starts accessing your tools that you use every day and create also for you in these tools some content. Can you explain a bit and show how you are using it? And if you like, as we were talking about writing in a way that it's like a grade 6 without losing the essence. So even explaining also in an easy way the technology you are using.
Yeah, so I think those are slightly unrelated, but like when we write, the first thing that we do is that we're ghostwriters. That means that we write in the name of people. And the first thing that we do is that we look at everything that they have published on the internet. Sometimes that's easier and they have podcasts and like thousands of hours of them talking. Sometimes it's more difficult and they're trying to start writing on the internet. But the more stuff they have, the better it is. And then you can put all these videos, just like I was showing you with the coach, you can put all those videos and transcripts and text documents, and you can create a style guide for yourself or for them. And then you can use that as something that you just put into every single prompt with like the style guide plus examples where it's like words that they never use, quirks that they like to use in their language, like that kind of stuff. Just breaking down that on like a small level. And if you want to do it the lazy way, you can just be like, you don't need a fancy prompt. You can be like, break down the tone of voice of this person into extreme detail and give me a detailed report on how they usually write. And then if it's for yourself, obviously you can self-correct, be like, oh, I usually do like to use this word or whatever it is. So that's what I would recommend there. So you have like a almost like personal brand guidelines rather than holistic brand guidelines. Then the second part is MCP, which is stands for Model Context Protocol, I think. And I never say that like, oh, this is the next big thing in AI, but I do genuinely think that this is the next big thing in AI, which I've never said before. But right now, especially knowledge workers, before we had this conversation, I was looking like, where do knowledge workers spend their most time? And actually it's like work about work. So it's like not doing the actual thing that creates results. They want to spend more time doing that, but it's actually like interlacing different things, like taking something from a system, finding information somewhere, writing an email, getting access, like all these like small things. And you're essentially being the human connector of all these like subtasks. The flaw that all AI models so far have had, like, or not AI models per se, but the interface that we use, like Claude, like ChatGPT, is that even though that they have web access and they have some tool access right now, they can't, like many times you wanted to do like a complex task for you and you wanted to like take an email, take like a Google Sheet, do an analysis based on it and write up something like these multiple steps. And that right now is just pretty difficult if you do it in many steps, right? Like you can copy paste it in there, but it's usually difficult to have ChatGPT use your computer for you. What this model context protocol does, it's like a way for the large language models like Claude, ChatGPT, DeepSeek to use other apps. So there's MCPs for a bunch of different things. You can use it to access all the files on your computer. You can use it to interface with apps such as Notion, I believe also with Gmail. And I think that as this gets more developed and as it gets easier to use and also like natively built into the interfaces, this is like a feature that will become like exploding and it will be what everybody's using for more complex tasks and will save us a lot of time. So right before this call, I was, because I got this recommendation from a friend that runs one of the biggest agencies, AI automation agencies working with like billion-dollar sports franchises. And he was telling me how he was toying around with building up like a Notion live system using Claude. And I was like, how are you doing that? Like, because I like Notion, but I suck at building like the Notion systems. And then he said, oh, I integrated it using MCP, which is again, Model Context Protocol. And if you want to do it yourself, it takes a tiny bit. It doesn't take coding, but it takes a little bit of like nitty-gritty configuration. Just Google set up Claude with Notion MCP configuration and just go for that tutorial. If you run into issues, just take a screenshot of where you get stuck, put it into Claude or put it into ChatGPT ChatGPT, just let it feedback you and run through the troubleshooting. That's how I did it. It took me 25 minutes.
You didn't have anything, and in 25 minutes, you had it already in place.
Yes.
So it's really fast.
version. It isn't, it's literally like one file. It's just you need to make sure that the file is configured the right way. And let's say it's an hour for a less young person. If I was 5 years younger, I would have done it in 15 minutes. But anyway, so after you've integrated it, you can and this is like the Claude desktop app. And before I couldn't do this, but you can see all these like small missions, which is like it's creating something in Notion. So I created this test page, which before was called just MCP test. And then we can have it interactive with it, right? So I can say in the same page you just create a database with relevant properties to manage my tasks I work in finance. This takes it a bit longer because it's still like in its early days, but it's still really cool. So what it should be able to do now, and I'm also just trying this out with you, right? So I just got this literally 5 minutes before the call. But it should be able to update this page, and it will like, you can see it's already working here, and it's like working like step by step here. The only thing that is with like this like homemade, because this is new, you need to like give it the permissions to actually create database and stuff. So now we have it here, but because it's like in this early version right now, I would love for it to be kind of like you see it in action here, but now it's kind of, it feels a bit like chopped up because you get like block by block rather than getting it all in like a liquid way like this, and you feel the actions going on here, but you can also still see it being updated here at the same time. So let's see what I think it might be using in here. Yes.
Oh, so it's doing like a checklist for finance.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool database. And I'm right now making this in the most beginner way possible. Really where Notion can shine is usually when you integrate databases with each other and you create relationships and stuff between them. But I think it did a pretty good job here just creating like a basic database for us where we can manage our tasks. Okay, let me try an actual cooler thing. I always hate updating Notion because I'm like not a person that loves the admin part of the work. So let's say I just finished my day of work. I will give you a list of what I did today. Please update the task database to be up to date based progress. And then I'm just going to say like 1, I processed all expense reports. And then I'll just say I also progressed on the Q2 financial report, but didn't finish it. And 3, I researched tax regulation.
And you could even like say it with voice, right? If you want to.
Yeah. If I wasn't in a call right now, I could give it with the voice. It was way faster, in fact. So that's actually a great suggestion.
I really think this is how we are going to change working. Instead of typing, I don't think my kids are going to type. They are going to voice and just talk to the computer. And
Yeah.
they will see the work happening in front of their eyes and will be able to review, like having a worker next to them and doing the work for them, and they are just coaching it.
No, absolutely. I think we didn't focus on it. We didn't catch it. But if you're watching the replay or you're watching the recording right now, you could see here that it changed let's maybe do it more like this. And we're going to, let's say, please update all the tasks to complete. Because I canceled it in the middle, it removed this. And now here it's going to change the statuses of all these, right? But if you watch the replay, you could see that it took them from like not started to in progress. And now right here, it's changing all of them to completed like one by one. Imagine if I don't know how the day-to-day would be for a knowledge worker here, but I just know that task management systems usually eat up a bunch of time. And I think that this is also possible with like Asana, Monday.com, probably Microsoft apps as well. And how smooth isn't it to just be able to have everything in one app that like operates your computer for you?
You use it for now with Notion to create like your Notion pages, your Notion tables, list of tasks, projects. What did you do recently with Notion and MCP?
I literally just got Notion, like MCP for Notion, but usually I use Notion to manage my projects with the writers that I have and with my assistant. So I have it all in one database. I have one database with all the tasks in the company, and then I create different views of that database so that I can see, so that every person in the company has their own view of it. And then I have like a master view so I can see all the stuff that's happening in the company from one view. I could show it if it wouldn't be confidential. I can show it to you afterwards, but I think another thing that could be interesting to look at for our audience is like, I just asked it, what are the possible MCP integrations with Claude? There's some product management things. You can use it with GitHub. You can use it with, Figma is actually something that I like a lot, like turning Figma designs or code into Figma designs. And I believe our audience might use something like GitHub, right? Or
Drive or Gmails, yeah, like just being able to send emails for you or back messages.
That has to be the next thing. Like if I get, it always takes a little bit of work to get it integrated, but if I get Google Workspace integrated, then I can be like, oh, look at the Notion page with the finance tasks and send an update to my manager, Chris, updating on him on the progress I did today. And whenever I need compliance, ask him for compliance on that particular task. As I said, like this is, I think, what's going to happen next. As soon as it gets a little bit more user friendly and more people are using this, I think that, as you said, we will just go over to using more voice. It will be a better experience for us all because we'll be able to walk more and sit less.
Yeah, I think there will be like two technology working together is either computer vision, just give access AI to your computer. So like this, you don't even need to connect anything because it has access to the like screenshot to your keyboard, to your mouse, or you access through code with MC. And yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how this will develop also in the next weeks, because in AI it took in weeks, not even in months. So thank you a lot, Nils. Where can people hear about you? Because I know each time you post something on LinkedIn is always thoughtful. Like I really like the way you share your thoughts on LinkedIn, where they can find you. And do you have anything anywhere else where you will advise people to find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Nils, Nils, Liedlich. That's Liedlich. People always get it wrong. I live in Sweden. Nobody can even pronounce it. So that's where you can find me. And yeah, I'd love to stay connected.
Well, thank you. And I hope that in maybe 3 months or 6 months, we have like a second session with everything else you have built in between, because this is changing all the time. And I'm really happy that you came and that you share that with the audience. So thank you.
Thank you.